to go to our reactions and click on the heart. All right, because precisely today we are talking about affective neuroscience. We'll be talking about something that has been already developed throughout the conference and is the power of our social and emotional development as teachers of English. So every time while I'm sharing the ideas that you feel that you like an idea, I want you to go into the heart. Yes? Can we try it? So can you all go and send me a heart so that I know that you are there and that I'm not alone here speaking on my own? Yes? Okay. So here is my email address in case you want to contact me and in case you want to expand, all right, what we are going to talk about today. And I want to start with this beautiful concept that I learned is from Africa. That is a concept of sawabona. Sawabona, or I see you. And I would like to say at this moment, before I start my presentation, that I see all of you. And that if I had to, in only one phrase, summarize the message that I would like you to walk away with today, it's this idea of reminding ourselves of the importance of seeing our students, the importance of actively listening to what they have to share, the idea of looking to them into their eyes and realizing the importance of their life stories, the importance of everything that they are as human beings. I do believe in the power of bringing back humanity into our classrooms. Okay, so the idea precisely today is sawabona. Let's see each other, all right? Let's interact. We are very, very active in the chat. Thank you for that. That's really very, very important for all of us. Let me just open it so that I've got it handy and I can see you there. So thank you so much. Let's get started. This is a compass for our session today, all right? We will tap into 3 different authors because I love, and as a teacher myself, I love learning all the time. I love discovering researchers. I love discovering the work of great authors. So today I will share with you 3 authors, 5 practical tools that will go directly into the classroom, right? Because I want you to really leave this session with hands-on ideas that you can start, of course, adapting before you adopt them for your students in your classes, wherever you are, because I know that our audience is very much global and we have you guys joining us from everywhere around the world, right? So 2 theories of learning. That's the last part. We will talk about the social brain. We will talk about the framework of implementation in terms of why emotions are important, right? Why emotions play a key role in terms of deep learning. What are those ideas that are related to social and emotional development and why those impact the way our students learn? And of course, the impact who we are as teachers. I think that one of the things we should remind ourselves all the time is that we should speak more about learning and not so much about teaching, okay? Because we need to remember that nowadays, student centricity is absolutely essential, right? So let's get started because I have a lot to share with all of you, my dear colleagues from around the world. First of all, a little bit of framework. I am a specialist in social and emotional learning. I have been working with schools and organizations around the world for more than 8 years now, helping them have better connections with the potential of emotions and social development in the classroom. And this is precisely because, my dear teachers, I want to remind all of us once again that we are not only English teachers, we are educators, okay? So if you like this idea, remember to send me your heart so that I know that you agree with me, that you are resonating with this. We are not only English teachers, we are educators, which means we are helping our students prepare for life. And of course, we do it through what we are extremely passionate about, that is English language teaching, right? But our role has far more opportunities. It goes far beyond just teaching grammar and vocabulary. It's about helping our students reach their best potential, tap into their passions so that they become better human beings, more empathic, more oriented towards constructing peaceful solutions, right? More oriented towards connection, human connection, and human understanding. And this can happen. And I can tell you this because I've been doing this with a lot of teachers for many years now. This can happen in your classroom, every single class. And you don't need much time for that. I will talk about that later on. So a little bit of social and emotional relevance, okay? This is one of the great resources I want to share with you today. This is from Rethinking Learning, a review on social and emotional learning for education systems. It's by UNESCO. It was released in 2020, and it is very much aligned to what we know as the Sustainable Development Goals, right? We know that what we teachers do impact many of these goals, but most specifically, goal number 4, quality education. In order to bring social and emotional relevance and importance into educational agendas worldwide, this document was released. And I am sharing with you some of the introductory phrases, introductory quotes that might help us understand why is it that we talk so much about the importance of emotions in the classroom. We need to be creative in helping young people face the challenges of a world that is changing rapidly. That is precisely where emotional intelligence and social skills can become the best assets to navigate through those changes. SEL, that is social and emotional learning, can be described as that learning that helps our students identify and navigate their emotional landscapes, mindfully engage in learning, exhibit, show pro-social, empathic behavior for human flourishing towards a peaceful and sustainable planet. So this is, my dear teachers, a short reminder of why is it that we do what we do. We teach English to help our students become better friends. We teach English to help our students become global citizens. We help them through English to become better human beings. And that is what I am passionate about. And that's why I'm here today. Thank you. Thank you for all your comments there in the chat. So, first author. This is one of my favorite authors of all time about emotions in the classroom. And this is Dr. Mark Brackett. Mark Brackett is a member of the Yale University, and he has founded many years ago an organization that helps schools and students thrive and connect with the power of emotions. One of his most important work and research is on the area of emotional regulation. Imagine, dear teachers, how important that is in learning. Regulating our emotions as teachers is absolutely essential. And of course, for our students, for the learning process, this is pivotal. And Mark Brackett reminds us that regulating our emotions is not about suppressing or controlling emotions or adapting to someone else's ideas of how we should feel. It is not simply telling our students, calm down, be silent. We regulate our emotions to think clearly, to make better decisions, to create and manifest positive relationships, and to experience well-being. We regulate our emotions so that our emotional universe, our emotional system as humans, both teachers and students, play for our team, not against us. We all know that when we are deregulated emotionally, nothing good happens, all right? And this is, of course, because from the point of view of neuroscience, when the intensity of an emotion is really high, we cannot think clearly. This is what Daniel Goleman used to call or coined the concept of taking over, right? Emotions taking over the brain and in a way suppressing our capacity to think rationally and to think clearly. So this is the first author I want to bring to all of you. I am a fan of Dr. Mark Brackett. I had the opportunity of meeting him at the end of last year at a conference. So I was very, very happy to have a very good conversation with him and to share with him that we all teachers advocate around the world for a better world in terms of social connections and emotions. So first tool, this is tool number one. My dear teachers, this is for you the time to take down notes and to take and consider using this tool with your students as soon as you go back to classes. This is the charter. And it's all about the importance of agreements. One of the great challenges that we teachers face everywhere around the world is discipline, isn't it? Type agree if discipline is a challenge in your classrooms. Absolutely. And I think one of the problems with this is that we have understood the role of teachers as always telling people what to do, you know, and this is a problem that we bring also home. I also realized that because I am a teacher, I'm constantly telling my girls and my husband what to do at home. And so one day I decided to stop that. And I think that this is because we teachers in general have had like this unilateral communication with students. So I am bringing here the importance of agreements. And this is not only with your students. This is for everyone that you live with, your friends, your family, your mom, your husband, your wife, your kids. Importance of agreements. The charter is a collaborative document that helps us teachers establish productive learning environments. How? By agreeing on the things that are acceptable in our classrooms and things that are not acceptable. So together with the students, this is not something that we do. We build this, and in fact, I encourage you to ask your students speak most of the time. You build together how you want to feel at school, the behaviors that foster feelings of inclusion, feelings of emotional security, right? Working together to build the charter, I will share some examples now, will give you common goals, will set limits, okay? And will help you create an environment for learning that is conducive to deep learning and to long-lasting effects in terms of learning. So these are examples of the charter. So in this case, for example, the photograph on the left, this is a teacher, and they wrote down the charter with the students, the agreement, so that it is visible. Remember the importance of visible learning. so that it's visible in the classroom, right? The other picture is something similar, but students used Post-it, all right? So as you can see, we have the most important drivers, the most important values for this group that are spirited, united, respected, empowered, determined. And then students shared their actions that will represent those values for this class. So this is an agreement that you come with your students, and that will help you establish healthy limits. It will help you define what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, and will help you as a reminder of a common ground that you have come to with your students. So what you need to consider, I have been implementing the charter at schools for 2 years now. And I even implement the charter for teachers' rooms, so that the group of teachers at a school create their own charter, right? And it's visible there at the teacher's room. And it's a reminder of the importance, the impact, the meaning that we teachers create when we teach. But it's also a reminder of those things that are acceptable and non-acceptable within these environments. So, of course, my dear teachers, you will need to have one charter with each of your groups, because not all groups, all our students are different. The type of agreements you will need to come to will be different from one group to the other, and they should. All right? So this is tool number one, the charter. You can give it different formats. As you can see now in this one, students draw themselves so that they could be represented, around the text, around the agreements of the charter. In other cases, it's a little bit more creative, and you can do it through images collages, through music, through you name it. Okay. Thank you so much for your comments. I'm reading you right now. My dear, I am a gardener and you are the flowers. Well, remember, thank you for sharing that. Remember our beloved Dr. Ken Robinson, and he used to say something that I love and that marked my life as a teacher. Precisely, he said that we teachers are gardeners. Our responsibility is not to make the flowers grow, but to create the right environment for students to flourish, for those flowers to grow and develop, right? It is not our responsibility to do it for our students, but it's our responsibility to create the right environment for that to happen, right? So let me keep on going. Let me check the chat. Okay, that's a very good question by Eva. So how old should students be to participate in setting the classroom room? This is a very good question, because in general, we tend to think that we can do this with maybe primary school students, secondary school students, but I did a little bit of an experiment. I have to share this with you, and it worked out really well. And we created and we used the charter with kindergarten students, boys and girls in kindergarten. And of course, this was not written, okay, but we used different images. And so we talked about the importance of agreeing on what is acceptable and non-acceptable. We talked about the importance, and this was beautiful because those kids could express what made them feel good in the class. And that was very valuable information for the teacher as well. So we did it even at kindergarten, but of course not with written text. We used images, right? We used animals. We got creative so as to adapt it to different levels. So as you can see, you can do it with all age ranges, basically. I am bringing our second author of the day. Dr. Mary Mordino Young. Maybe you have heard of her. She has done extensive research on the neuroscience of the brain, especially for teenagers, right? So this is a little bit more for teenagers. And Dr. Mary Mordino Young is also very famous because she did a lot of research with Dr. Damasio, which you have probably heard of. So Dr. Mary Mordino Young, in her research, developed the idea of affective neuroscience, which is the topic of our talk today, right? And she discovered through her research the salience network. So what is this seesaw that I am sharing with you in the screen? We've got cognition and we've got emotion, right? So what is a salience network? We know nowadays that in the past, we used to consider cognition and emotion as two separate universes within ourselves, which is not true. Cognition and emotion are constantly interwoven in our brain so as to create who we are. But the salience network, my dear teachers, is the one thing responsible in our brain to establish what we care for and what matters to us. So let me share a story with you. When I was in secondary school, I was a pretty naughty student, I have to admit. And I was inquisitive, and I used to ask all the time, I used to ask teachers the same question. And that question was, why should I learn this? Why is this important? Right? Why is it that this is going to help me out there in life? And unfortunately, pretty few teachers had a good answer to my question. So in general, I was like engaged in teaching and in conversations that have to do with the relevance of what we are teaching for students. So, for example, for me, taking care of the environment is a value. Okay? Is a value. So when I go to the supermarket and I have to pick up apples for my family, my choice is to go for organic, local groceries, local producers, right? Which don't use chemicals and so on and so forth. Why? Because for me, taking care of the environment and helping local communities is an important value in my life. So this is my salience network in action. What I'm trying to say with this, we need to teach students through relevance. They will learn what they can see value on. They will be engaged in learning English, especially with things that are important in their world. So we teachers need to be master creators of a bridge, between what we have to teach and what is important for them. Okay? So it's really very important to share, why whatever we are teaching is important. If you are teaching past simple, right, as an English teacher, you can say, okay, past tense or tenses in general will help you tell the story of who you are. Tenses will help you make a storytelling of your narrative in life, of who you are, who you were, and who you would like to become in the future. That is completely different from telling students you need to learn grammar. Okay, grammar is important for communication. All right, but that doesn't mean much for students. So it's really very, very, very important to activate the salience network in students. Why? Because relevance creates disposition for learning. What does this position for learning mean, my dear teachers? What do you think it means? Anasha says that this little boy saying, I don't need English, I just want to be a footballer. You cannot be a footballer if you don't speak English. So, see my point? If you had that little boy, let me just go a little bit ahead in the example. If you had that little boy sharing that is his passion, as a teacher, you know that your connection thread with the language and that boy is football. So you need to bring football on your board, your teaching board, on your class every time you can do it, because that is what will ignite this position for learning, which is nothing less than intrinsic motivation, the only motivation that is relevant for deep learning, because we learn what we care about. And Dr. Mary Mordino Young says something that is really very important. Whatever we are feeling, we are thinking of. And whatever we are thinking of, we are learning. So this is showing us the chain of connection between cognition, emotion, and real, meaningful learning. All right? Okay, I need to move forward, my dear teachers. Okay, this was me with Mary Mordino Young, all right? Because I also had the pleasure of being her student a couple of times in my life, and that's why I'm sharing her work. Another tool, goal boards. We need to guide our students on how to achieve things in English. Okay? So, our goals, this is what you can tell your students. Your goals are an important part of who you are. If you have a dream, if you want to become a footballer, you need to have your goals and you need to define them. So you will create a picture or collage that represents your goal. You cannot use words, only images. You can also paint it, you can bring some music, but no words needed at this time, okay? You can pick a big goal that you want to achieve during your life, becoming a footballer, or a smaller goal. I need to pass this English test, okay? And you help your students create a goal board that will be a document that will be on the walls of your classrooms so that they are reminded where they are heading, right? What is their objective? You can do a goal board with English. What would you like to do with English, right? And then you go with the if-then plan. Yes, of course, this is very much vision boards. It's very much, but it's a simpler version of vision board so that you can adapt it to different ages and age ranges, right? So then you go to the if-then plan. So first of all, goal. What's your goal? If or when I do ta 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 ta, then I will achieve. Why? Because students also need to become aware that learning is a process, that is not magic, all right? That you need to do things in order to achieve something bigger. And this also taps into life skills because we are talking about accountability, right? So this is a thing that works marvels in the classroom, and you engage your students and will give you a lot of information about who they are. Because my dear teachers, we cannot connect with the humanity of our students if we don't know who they are. So one of our most important roles should be to get to know our students, all right? To get to know their passions, to get to know what they care about, to get to know their worlds. I call this concept stepping into your students' worlds. We are always dragging our students to come into our adult educators' syllabus, exams worlds. We need to take a step into their worlds so that we can truly connect. with them. Let me move forward. Oh, we have a game. We have a game. Do you want to play a game? Let me just go back. Are you ready for a little game? Type yes if you're ready for a little game. I know you must be tired, so let's play a little bit. Okay, there will be an image on the screen. I want you to type and share with me, what do you see when I share with you this image? What do you see? Go to the chat. Maybe you don't see anything. The first time I saw this image, I have to admit, it was just black and white spots here and there. Okay, as Angela is saying, black and white spots, nothing. Okay, shadows, a tarantula, a bee, sports. I love this. You see how creative we teachers are? Do you realize? It's unbelievable. Unclear. I love that answer. Map of the world, phases. Okay, all right. So stop there. Now I will show you another image. And then I will go back to this one. All right, so there will be a new image, and then I will go back to this image. This is image number 2. And now, many of you were right, okay? Let me share with you again the original image. Probably from now onwards, every time you see this image, the only thing that you will probably see is a bee. Why is that? Because I have just created a memory in your brain that didn't exist before. I have just, created something new in your brain. So when we saw this image the first time, maybe it was just, black and white spots. But then I saw the bee. And now every time I look at this image, I see a bee. This is a concept by the third author I want to share with you today. That is Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. Okay? And Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett says the following. Take down notes. Our brain works on 2 different principles. And the most important principle is anticipation. Okay? Anticipation and prediction. Let me give you another example. What are the emotions and the feelings that our students feel in general when we say the word test, when we say assessment, when we say, my dear students, we will have a test next week? Okay, have a look at all those emotions in the chat. We all feel like this in many cases, right? Why? Because our previous experiences about tests and assessments maybe have not been the most positive. You know what I mean? They panic. It's even terror. I agree with you, Corinne, in some cases. We all feel that way because throughout our educational life, we have lived experiences associated with tests that are not positive. So our brain for next time is predicting based on a past memory. Are you with me, my dear ones? So what would happen if I told you that Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett discovered that we can change those patterns of anticipation? For example, if you help, exactly, Corinne, if you help your students relax, if you help your students do some mindfulness exercises before or during the test, if you share with your students that a test is a learning opportunity, and that we have to do it because those are the systems that we live in. But it's something that will help them grow and learn and develop. What would happen if we created an environment the day of the test with some music, with something that makes them feel a little bit better? Because stress is not bad, not always bad. They need to, get trained in these stressful situations because that's what life is about. But we can change those predictions. This, my dear teachers, is one of the most important messages I want to leave today from the aspect of affective neuroscience. We can make better predictions in our students' brain about what learning is about. You know that we all have our favorite teachers, those that we will always remember because they helped us, because they were nice, because they were approachable, because they were demanding, but at the same time comforting with us. Be those teachers. Be those teachers that create new anticipations in your students' brains. Create positive bees in your students' minds. Okay, that's my message from Dr. Lisa Feldman Barrett. And the social brain. I will go a little faster. Another idea, the choice board. Voice and choice is essential for our students' growth, for our students' development, and for our students' accountability. So this is an activity that I use today with my students. There is a choice board. This is just an example, okay? We were reading, a book, a reader, and they had to show me that they read it and that they knew the story and so on. So I gave them 4 options. Number 1, they had to create a comic strip, or they could do something with music about the story of the book, or they could write a letter, right? Or they could whatever, but they could choose how they would show me that they read the short story, that they had read the reader. Okay? So making our students accountable through voice and choice is extremely important for students' agency. And if we think about the education of the future, I think that one of the key drivers will definitely be student agency. Another idea, paired sharing. This is the solar model. S, this is active listening. This is about helping our students work through conflict resolution. This is about helping our students become aware of the other person. This is a social brain in action, okay? The solar model. Number 1, sit square. If you are having a dialogue with someone, sit still in presence for the other person, not looking at the phone, not looking outside. Sit square. Oh, be open. Try to reduce the filters of judgment about whatever you are listening to. L, listen, but active listening. This is what we call lean in listening. It's not listening like this, right? Just waiting until you finish so that I jump at you with my ideas. It's listening with open minds and with open ears. E, eye to eye, look into the person's eye. And R, repeat, reflect, paraphrase. Whenever the other person says something, recheck on what they said, because this is one of the most important sources of misunderstanding. And if we do the solar, we would have a great model for our students to look into each other's eyes, to listen actively, to open up to engagement through diversity, through embracing differences and understanding that you do not necessarily need to agree, but you can always learn something new from another person. All right, this is the solar model. And this I got and I adapted this idea from this book, which is a great book. It's called Thrivers by Michelle Borba. I also had the pleasure of meeting Michelle last year, and the work that she has done with students is amazing, right? So that's another book recommendation, because I know that we are all book lovers, right? We cannot heal the world today. Maybe we can't, but we can always begin with a voice, a gesture of compassion, of kindness, a heart of love, and an act of kindness. So thank you so much, dear teachers, for being here. It's a pleasure to be part of this conference once again. Thank you for all the comments in the chat. I didn't have time, to read everything, but I will stay here and I will start answering some of your messages. And I think it's time for questions, isn't it?
Wow, thank you so much for your presentation. I feel like it has been so wonderful and so clear that I'm speechless. But I can see that this is a wonderful close to the ending of the conference, because you have shared with us some of the most important things that we need to keep in mind in terms of teaching and learning, in focusing on meaning and value and intrinsic motivation. I can see that those are really important topics. And I also appreciate that you shared some very specific ideas and techniques that teachers can use. But from my experience, I know that from implementing an idea and applying strategies in real life is actually not that easy. Do you have any suggestions in terms of taking an idea and then apply it consistently? What does it take?
Yes. And this is a great question, because we teachers have this tendency to think that whenever we are focusing on developing human skills, we are kind of stealing time from English language development, which is not exactly the case. Because I always say it is not about what we teach. We have a lot of systems designed for what we teach, right? We've got programs, we've got international exams, we've got textbooks, we've got syllabus, we've got all the systems. What makes a difference is how we teach it, right? So this is what I do in my model with schools worldwide, and we are taking 15 to 20 minutes a week to take the opportunity to take and to have conversations with students about the importance of emotions, about how the brain works, about how the brain learns. And these are skills that they will take for life. So it's just 15 minutes a week, Why? Because it's not aiming at the big thing, but just knowing the importance of emotions and social developments and life skills developments in our classrooms, and setting aside a little bit of time every single week, consistently, through watching a video. Nowadays, as I was listening to the previous presentation by Macmillan, we have wonderful textbooks in English. Most of the textbooks have great opportunities to develop collaboration, to develop the social brain, to look at the importance of understanding and embracing differences. So it's just about paying a little bit of attention and exploiting those resources from the perspective of affective neuroscience. And as I always say, we just need to be present. It's our presence that makes the difference. It's how we teach. The what is in the systems that we all use, and we are very much used to using them. But what really changes a student's life is how we teach.
Yeah.
Definitely.
And,
Lynn, feel free to ask. I will wait with my question.
Yes. Oh, I was just going to make a comment that I appreciate the suggestion in terms of doing something consistently, right? Even with your last technique, it's not easy. It's a wonderful idea, but it's not easy. So it needs practice.
It is not.
And that is what matters.
That's the point.
practice and doing it consistently. And they say that maybe it takes
Practice.
30 days
Exactly.
to form any new habit.
And helping our students acquiring and getting the tools on how to do it better. You know, these are skills that are developed. Of course, it's a challenge because active listening is one of the things that we struggle the most with. But we need to become aware that we can equip our students with how-tos, and we can offer our classroom as a safe setting for them to practice and to grow these capacities that are needed in life outside the four walls of the classroom. And I say, like real life out there.
Yes, thank you. And I know Blanca is passionate about neuroscience also, so she may have some questions for you.
Yes, however, I wanted to ask about something practical, not something that I'm a true geek about, so cognitive neuroscience, because since yesterday we've been covering all these ideas about using AI technology, not only to develop our students and ourselves, but also to save time and bandwidth. And you know, maybe someone is going to have tomorrow's classes or in next 2 or 3 days. So let's try to equip our attendees with some practical and ready to use ideas. So Monica, can you share a real example of how you implemented some of the ideas you mentioned, or maybe something else? And in a nutshell, to pin it down, that's for the sake of using it in next 2 days by our attendees.
Okay, I am working with a school in Peru right now, and we are working on a program because I've been working with them for the last 2 years. Now we are working on a program on how to integrate artificial intelligence into English language teaching. So let me give you an example of how this connects with affective neuroscience and social and emotional learning. These teachers learned, as you colleagues have been doing during these 2 days, how to incorporate artificial intelligence, which is going to save them loads of time in terms of class preparation, in terms of what happens in the classroom. So we focused on using that time for teachers to prepare themselves on social and emotional teaching so that they could share these type of activities with their students with the right framework, with the right research, and so on. So through the incorporation of artificial intelligence, they've been saving time, a lot of time in planning, for example, and we have been using that time with the teachers for them to learn more about social and emotional development and to work on the tools, practical tools that they will use with their students in class. So this has been like, like a full circle in a way into incorporating artificial intelligence in a meaningful, controlled way and using the saved time so as to develop these type of skills. And the same happens in a class, you know, we can take the time in class to work with our students about this and to use artificial intelligence as a co-pilot, you know, in all this. But we need to remember that human skills cannot be replicated by AI yet. That's why the relevance of social and emotional development for our students is pivotal for their life skills in the future.
All right. So I just wanted to fish out one of wonderful questions by our attendees. In a nutshell, could you give some advice for implementing solar in an online teaching environment? I think this is absolutely important question because nowadays we either cover sessions, online sessions, either entirely or at least some of them.
Yeah, absolutely. The way I do it, because most of my teacher trainings, in fact, are online because I am working with teachers from around the world. So one of the things I do is I make extensive use of breakout rooms. Extensive use of breakout rooms. And the way that I work with Solar there is when I can identify students that are stronger in these skills, I use them in a way as advocates for the different solar models and different modeling of these capacities. So they kind of jump into another pair or another group of students breakout room, and they contribute and they mentor in a way on those skills, because that's something we teachers cannot be everywhere, right? We always manage to do it somehow, but it's physically impossible.
Yes.
So inviting, students that are stronger in these skills as advocates and as mentors, so that they can help us, and so that pair learning also happens, which is absolutely essential.